When I begged the millionaire to save my mother's life, I never expected this life-changing twist. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The hospital lights flickered like they were about to fail. My heart raced like it knew a storm was coming. Mom lay there, small and fragile, her breathing shallow and erratic. I could barely hold back the tears, but they spilled over anyway, warm and salty on my skin. Every second felt like an eternity. The beeping machines, the sterile scent of the room, it was all too much, and then there was him. The millionaire. Grayson Hale. A man whose very name brought whispers of power and wealth. He was a ghost in my world, the type who dominated headlines, but right then, he strolled into my life like he owned it. His tailored suit hugged him like armor, his expression inscrutable. I didn't care how rich he was, I just needed him to hear me, to listen. "Please," I gasped, stumbling into his path. "My mom, she needs a transplant. You can help. I know you can. You have the money." His steely gaze pierced through me. I expected rejection, maybe even indifference, but instead, he leaned closer. The scent of expensive cologne wrapped around us, swirling into a mist of desperation. "You're quite the bold one, aren't you?" he murmured, his voice smooth like silk but laced with something darker. The world around us faded. What did he want from me? What price would I pay for my mother's life? My hands trembled as I searched his eyes, looking for an inkling of compassion. But what I found sent shivers down my spine. Was there a hint of amusement? A challenge? Suddenly, I felt the weight of every moment press down on me. I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Silence wrapped around us, thick and suffocating. "Meet me tonight," he finally said, his lips curling into a sly smile. "We'll discuss your mother's future. But know this, everything comes at a price," and with that, he walked away, leaving me reeling. A million thoughts crashed over me like waves. What had I just agreed to? What was the price? I felt a chill seep into my bones. As night fell, shadows danced ominously in my mind. I stood at the entrance of that abandoned warehouse where he had instructed me to come. It loomed ahead, dark and twisted, like a monster waiting to swallow me whole. My imagination spiraled. What was I walking into? A sudden crash echoed from within, making me jump. What kind of deal was I about to make? Would I trade my soul for a heartbeat? My breath caught, and the silence stretched endlessly as I took a step forward, my heart racing with fear and anticipation. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air felt thick as I crossed the thresholds of the warehouse, each step echoing like a drumbeat of dread in my ears. The darkness engulfed me, wrapping around my shoulders like an unwanted cloak. I squinted ahead, trying to pierce the gloom, and after a moment, I spotted him. Grayson stood by a flickering bulb, casting a warped light around him, his figure half shadow, half god. "You're brave, showing up," he said, his voice low, calm, but edged with a teasing intensity that made me shiver. "Too want to talk about my mother," I managed to say, though every syllable felt like a weight dragging me down. "What do you want from me?" He stepped closer, and for a brief moment, I felt spellbound, trapped in his orbit. "There's more to life than money, you know. Sometimes, it requires a different currency." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. A flicker of unease washed over me, and I took a step back, trying to regain my footing in this strange new reality. "Just tell me what you want," I repeated, summoning all my willpower to inject strength into my voice. I couldn't let his enigmatic charms win me over. My mother was fighting for her life, and that had to matter more than the game we were playing. "Let's say I help you," he continued, speaking deliberately, as if to outline a grand scheme beneath layers of intrigue. In return, you'll have to do something that might come at a cost to you. A wave of nausea rolled through me as I pictured the possible options: labor, servitude, secrets traded. What were those worth when my mother was at stake? What do you mean? I breathed, horrified, but a flame of determination ignited within me. He'll do anything, anything. The glimmer in his eye unsettled me. How about you agree to be my assistant at a few charity events? Help me charm our wealthy benefactors. You'll meet influential people, perhaps, they can help your mother too. That I couldn't catch my breath. It sounded too simple to be true, and yet, I could already see the potential. That's it? My voice came out disbelieving. I expected strings that tied me to darkness, not something so mundane. For now, he replied, his gaze unwavering. But trust this, the more you get involved in my world, the deeper the layers you'll uncover. There was a challenge hidden in his words, and despite my better judgment, I felt drawn to it. That I hesitated, uncertainty gnawing at my heart. Could I really align myself with someone so enigmatic, someone who toyed with people as if they were pieces on a game board? What kind of events, fancy galas, fundraisers, the type of gatherings where ties are made and broken? He paused, observing me. And perhaps, along the way, information will surface about medical options available to your mother. Hope flickered but then twisted into doubt. How could I trust him? Yet, as I stood there, imagining my mother, a fierce resolve began to spin. Okay. I'll do it. But I need something in writing, Grayson. I need a promise. His lips parted in faint surprise, the corner of his mouth curling into a smirk that sent alarm bells ringing. You're more formidable than I anticipated. Very well. I reached for my phone, trembling fingers opening a note. The screen illuminated his face, revealing the shadows etched upon his complexion. I jotted down my demands, every word an anchor to sanity in this sea of unpredictable emotions. Done, I stated, looking up ready for this darker pact. But before he could respond, a loud crash erupted from the far side of the warehouse, splintering our moment like glass shattering to the floor. Both of us snapped toward the sound, my heart racing with a new surge of fear. What was that? I whispered, dread pooling in the bottom of my stomach. Grayson's expression morphed into something different, more intense. Stay close to me, he ordered, his voice low but urgent. This might get messy. The unexpected plea for safety caught me off guard. Was there more lurking here than business deals? Had I waded into a world of unseen danger? Just as a flicker of urgency lit up Grayson's eyes, the shadows grew restless. Someone or something pierced through the warehouse's walls, threatening our fragile alliance. Before I could grasp what was truly unfolding, a figure stepped into the dim light. I stumbled back, stunned as a chilling familiarity coursed through me. My heart dropped as recognition set in. An old friend from school, someone I thought long lost to life's cruel winds. But they were no longer the person I remembered. The haunted look in their eyes spoke volumes, words unuttered but heavy with a plea for help that echoed through my soul. And then I heard the sound of a whisper, barely audible, laced with urgency. Get out. They're coming for you. The room spun, and terror gripped me tighter than ever before. Who was coming? And why was I standing in the middle of a darkened warehouse, negotiating the life of my mother with a man I barely trusted? In that moment, the stakes rose higher, and my world tilted dangerously onto its axis, pulling me into a spiraling chaos I hadn't imagined. Adrenaline surged through my veins as I took a step back, eyes locked onto the stranger standing amid the shadows. Their silhouette was gaunt and worn, framing the face that once radiated the vibrance of youth, now hollowed by despair. Jade? I stammered, uncertainty clawing my throat. The name felt foreign yet achingly familiar, a reminder of days long lost in the fog of adolescent innocence. Get out. They're coming for you, Jade repeated, their voice strained, laden with urgency. The air thickened with unspoken fears, and the encroaching darkness felt all too real, as if it was alive, weaving between us like an insidious serpent. Grayson stepped forward, his demeanor shifting quicker than I could process. You know each other? he demanded, the edge in his voice slicing through my confusion. Once, I managed, my gaze darting back to Jade, confusion battling sinking dread. What do you mean, coming for me? I can't explain everything now. Just trust me, Jade pleaded, their eyes flashing with desperation that mirrored my own inner turmoil. You shouldn't be here. It's not safe. Trust you. After all this time. The bitterness in my voice belied the longing I felt to reconnect, to bridge the chasm of lost years. You disappeared without a trace, Jade. I thought you were gone, they took everything from me, Jade replied, gaze drifting to the ground as if the weight of their memories pressed down too hard. You need to listen. Grayson doesn't know what he's dealing with. The tension crackled in the air like a live wire, the threat of impending danger felt all too tangible within the warehouse walls. I glanced at Grayson, his confidence seeming to waver under the gravity of Jade's words. Behind the bravado was something vulnerable, something alarmed. Enough of this. Grayson snapped, but his voice faltered, revealing a glimpse of the man behind the mask. I can protect her. I have my resources won't save her when they come for her, Jade shot back, voice rising, filling the darkened warehouse with urgency that ignited a part of me longing to break free from fear's grip. You don't understand, Grayson. This is bigger than you. A flicker of doubt crossed Grayson's visage, and a part of me reveled in seeing the mighty billionaire rattled. Was there a fracture in his armor, an opening through which I could escape the labyrinth of his manipulation? Tell me who is coming. I interrupted, my voice steadying against the storm brewing within me. If I am to be a pawn in this game, I want to know what I'm up against. It's not about being a pawn, Jade urged, stepping closer, eyes pleading with an intensity that felt like a lifeline. They want to control you because of your mother. You're a threat to them. Why? How do you know any of this? I pressed, driven by a fierce need for truth, but fear clawed at those threads, pushing me deeper into uncertainty. I've seen things, Jade whispered, each word entwined with a revelation that tore into the facade I thought I understood. Things I never wanted to believe until the moment they came for me. You're connected to Herthir, watching, always. They believe your love makes you vulnerable. Jade broke off, their breath hitching as the shadows flickered with menace. Grayson took a step forward, an air of authority creeping back into his posture. Enough of this, he declared, but there was a tremor beneath the forcefulness. You need to stay out of this, Jade. You don't have the leverage you think you do. Leverage. That's what you think this is about. Jade's voice cracked, revealing the raw emotional depths beneath their surface. These are lives we're discussing, and the stakes are higher than either of you can comprehend. They are ruthless. That I felt a wave of conviction crash over me. I was tangled in the web of uncertainty, but deep down, I could feel my mother, her spirit fighting, her love fueling me to press forward. Tell me how to protect her. I won't back down. Not now. You have to leave. Tonight, Jade implored, a sense of urgency transforming into something resembling determination, a spark igniting beneath the weight of despair. You can. Contact me when it's safe. It'll help you find a way to fight back. Fight back. Grayson interjected suddenly, doubt entwined with annoyance. By running away? That's not the plan, but what if it's the only option? I shot back, feeling the internal battle shift with the gravity of a truth clearer now than ever. I can't sit idle while my mother's life hangs in the balance. Suddenly, the deep growl of an engine approached, a vehicle's headlights penetrating through the grimy, broken windows of the warehouse, an ominous herald of the chaos to come. My heart raced, fear mixing with defiance. Whatever lay outside was coming for us, and now I stood at the crossroads of a life I never asked for, yet was drawn into willingly, hoping against hope that I could navigate the perilous terrain for my mother's sake. Jade, please, I whispered, pleading with the remnants of our shared past. Get out safe. I'll find you. Their eyes softened, and for an instant, I felt the warmth of our history envelop us. You won't just find me, you'll need me, Jade said, a quiet strength blooming amidst the swirling chaos. That I turned to Grayson, a fierce glimmer igniting. You said you could help me, but now I see I have to stand up. No more games. As the door rattled against the impossible weight of what was poised to come crashing through, I knew my gamble had been set, and my heart thundered with both fear and resolve. I was ready to rise, but as I stepped toward the unknown, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything hinged on one precarious truth. The moment I decided to play my part in this dark ballet of power, I was already in too deep. With the roar of the engine growing louder, it felt as if time itself had drawn a breath, the fragile stillness lingering just long enough for the storm to descend. I stepped back slightly, my pulse harmonizing with the echo of tires crunching against gravel, an ominous serenade heralding the unknown. "Get ready," Grayson whispered, his sharp jawline tensing as anxiety danced across his features for the first time since I've known him. I half expected him to retreat, to revert to the composed businessman who controlled every situation, but this was different. We were all on the edge of an abyss now. Jade moved with a haste I hadn't thought possible, their presence shrinking into the shades of dusk. "Head to the back exit," they urged, urgency flooding their voice. "You can trust me. Just go." The word struck me like a lifeline, and I nodded swiftly, shifting through the shadows with Grayson close behind. Every fiber of my being screamed for me to reach out to Jade, to keep that connection alive, but if I paused, we would be lost. I had to focus on survival, not just mine, but my mother's. Panic started bubbling within as we approached a heavy steel door at the rear. I turned for just a moment, desperate to catch a final glimpse of Jade, my heart tethered to them by the fragile threads of friendship and lost love. But all I saw was their silhouette fading into the murky gloom. "What the hell are we doing?" Grayson snapped at me, the tension in his voice slicing through my thoughts. "You think we can outrun them? I don't know," I admitted, adrenaline fueling my words. "But we have to try." The sound of boots thudding against the ground outside set my heart racing. They had come for me. That realization crystallized my fear. Those shadows were no mere specters, they were flesh and bone, and they wouldn't rest until they found what they sought. "Stay close," Grayson urged as we skirted through the entrance, emerging into the dim fog that enveloped the yard behind the warehouse. I could barely see a few feet in front of me, and a frigid chill settled into my bones, mingling with the scent of impending rain. The old, rusty latch creaked loudly as I pulled it shut behind us, and the reality of our situation weighed forced urgency upon me. My feet moved instinctively, and I felt Grayson's presence at my side, a shadow guiding me through the veil of darkness. "That van, it's too close," he said, peering around the corner. "We need another route. What do you suggest?" "The only way is through them," I retorted, edging closer to the wall as despair attempted to seep into my resolve. "You're not thinking straight," Grayson shot back, frustration lacing his tone. "There's always a way if we can just think." Interrupting him, a sharp crack filled the air, followed by the shatter of glass. My heart lurched. The hunters were gaining on us. "We need to move," I cried, taking hold of Grayson's arm, urgency coursing through me. We darted into a narrow alley that branched from the rear yard, regret curling in my gut as I surrendered the safety of Jade's presence. They had implored me to trust, and now I was sprinting toward an uncertain fate with someone I hardly knew. The conflicting feelings I harbored for Grayson, whether anger or gratitude, became a muddled haze as we navigated through the cobbled paths of the unfamiliar terrain. My breath came in sharp gasps as fear buckled my resolve, but behind the worry was a flicker of hope. Even if it felt foolish, that if they truly believed I was valuable, then maybe surviving the night hinged on an unpredictable alliance with Grayson. "There." He gestured toward an old garage, its wide door ajar, faint light spilling from the cracks. "We can hide in there, just until they passed." That I hesitated only for a moment before we slipped inside, the smell of gasoline mingling with dust, remnants of forgotten time encapsulated within spiraling shadows. As we huddled near the far wall, a calm washed over me, and I hesitated, wondering if this respite could be a moment to think. "Why are they after you?" Grayson whispered, urgency palpable, yet his eyes flashed something deeper. Insistence to unravel the mystery that had wrapped around my life. His presence, an odd combination of protector and enigma, forced a moment of clarity amidst the chaos. "My mother," I breathed, recalling pieces of conversations, long buried stories that suddenly had meaning. They think I can lead them to her. She was involved with something dangerous." "It feels like a lifetime ago." I paused, emotions bubbling just beneath the surface. And I thought I left it behind when I came here. We both froze, the sound of approaching footsteps becoming a palpable weight settling over our shoulders. The voices filled the air, full of menace, each taunt striking a chord of dread within me. I barely recognized the words but felt their certainty, the cold reality that they were searching for me. If we don't find her soon, she's as good as dead, a voice echoed, deep and chilling. That I turned to Grayson, my heart racing with the urgency of a new revelation. We need to move quick. They can't find us here. But as we shifted to make a run for it, I caught a glimpse of a figure haunting the gravel path outside, a familiar face emerging briefly, betrayal etched across their expressions. It was just a flicker, a momentary flash, but the recognition struck me like shards of glass. It was someone I knew, someone connected to my life in ways I couldn't have anticipated. Wait, I gasped, my breath catching in my throat, unable to piece together the implications of what I had seen. That was no. It can't be. Why are they there? Who? Grayson's voice was edged with urgency as he followed my gaze to the shadows, but I could hardly respond. My mind reeled with the potential of betrayal, the flicker of hope weaving into a web of confusion. A name danced on the tip of my tongue, a connection I could not yet grasp fully, yet every second felt like a countdown to disaster. Whoever they are, we don't have much time, Grayson insisted, forcing his composure over the looming dread. Let's move. I hesitated for an instant longer, the shadows holding more than I could understand. The hunted became the hunter, but I was still wrestling with my own fate. As we prepared to escape, the truth hung heavy in the air, and I couldn't shake the intuition that everything I knew was about to spiral into uncharted territory. Silence fell once more, but it was just an echo. Soon enough, chaos would return, and in that flickering light, I knew we would be facing greater dangers than we could have ever imagined. Little did I realize, the real battle was just beginning. The garage felt like a tomb, heavy with silence that stifled all breath. I could hear the muffled voices of the pursuers filtering through the door, the threat of discovery clinging to the air. Each word they uttered twisted my insides, but the name I almost recognized echoed louder in my mind, a specter of betrayal floating just out of reach. Let's go. Grayson urged, his hand wrapping around my wrist, firm yet careful. I shook my head, still entranced by the flicker of familiarity. I'd witnessed that it was someone I know, I stammered, gripping his arm with a fervor that surprised even me. I saw them. It might be tied to my mother. What? Who? Grayson's voice lowered, the urgency etched into every syllable. But I couldn't find the words. The figure I'd glimpsed had been unexpectedly haunting, a reminder that secrets were buried deeper than I had anticipated. My world felt like a sandcastle under siege. It would only take a strong wave to wash it all away. The voices outside faded momentarily, leaving a hollow silence that weighed heavily upon us. Grayson shifted his gaze toward the door, a muted tension tightening the lines etched across his brow. I could see he was wrestling with the implications of what I had said, trying to figure out how to keep me safe amidst the chaos swirling around us. Trust me, we need to focus on getting out of here, he finally said, stepping closer, his breath warm against my ear. We can't stay any longer. And with that, the pressure in my heart began to solidify into determination. Right. Let's go, I whispered, although uncertainty gnawed at my core. What if I was about to plunge deeper into danger? Grayson pushed the door open just a crack, peeking out into the encroaching night. The fleeting glimmers of threat outside had receded, and he nodded for us to make our move. We slipped out into the alley, the shadows swallowing us whole as we crept along the edge of the building. Each step was taken cautiously, and my heart raced like a wild drum, echoing the urgency of our escape. As we turned the corner, we reached a faded street with runs of flickering lamplight surrounding us. The buzz of distant city life sounded inviting, yet utterly foreign. I felt like an intruder in my own life, now thrust into a narrative of heart-stopping urgency and hidden danger. Before we could take another step, a crashing sound rang out, a door slamming somewhere behind us as if we had startled an unseen predator. Grayson's grip tightened on my wrist, pulling me further into the shadows. Keep moving, he urged, and I felt the prickling of fear slip into my veins. Just then, a figure appeared along the street, illuminated by the hesitant glow of a lamppost. My heart stuttered, the shape was unmistakable. A small spark of recognition flickered. Lila. A voice rasped, and even in the depths of night, I could recognize it. Simone, my old friend from high school, was standing there soaked in worry, eyes wide as she scanned the area around us. Simone. I hesitated, trying to reconcile this slice of normalcy with the chaos that had enveloped my life. Get over here. She waved the both of us over, glancing nervously behind her. Are you crazy? Grayson whispered fiercely, glancing between me and Simone. She could be leading us right into, but I was already moving, driven by an instinct I couldn't suppress. No, wait. I trust her. I shouted, breaking through the haze of desperation as I rushed toward Simone. Grayson swore under his breath. You don't know what's at stake. The truth stung, yet the warmth of Simone's presence beckoned me. I need help, I called, desperation flooding my voice as I reached her. Please. You have to believe me. With hesitation creasing her brow, Simone stepped closer, the gravity of my tone piercing through her nerves. I heard what's happening. You're in danger, she said, glancing around again. But you can't be here. We need to get you somewhere safe. Safe? Grayson's incredulity was palpable, but the fear in my heart emboldened me. We have nowhere else to go. I can't. Just trust me, Simone said firmly, eyes darting toward the distant shadows of looming figures. I have a car nearby. It's our best shot. That I in that fleeting moment, I chose to believe in the glimmer of familiarity that tugged at my heartstrings, my need for safety overshadowing the doubts swirling in my mind. Let's go, I said breathlessly. As we hurried down the street together, the flickering light of hope sparkled amidst the uncertainty shrouding our escape. I glanced back at Grayson, who hesitated, fraught with hesitation, but something in my resolve seemed to draw him in. Fine, but if this goes south, he began, then we'll find another way, I shot back, knowing that I had no other choice. As we reached the car, something shifted within me. Grayson slid into the back seat without a word, his demeanor cloaked in frustration, yet I clung to the fragile thread of hope that I wouldn't just be running away. I would find my mother and face whatever madness awaited me. Through the fogged windows, the world outside blurred into a haze of uncertainty. My heart raced with excitement, mixed with the underlying fear that, although hope flickered farther down the path, it could all extinguish in an instant. As Simone tore through the streets, a sudden ringing drowned my thoughts. My phone. With trembling hands, I fished it from my pocket, an avalanche of dread cascading through me when I saw the caller Don unrecognized number flashing ominously. That I shouldn't answer, I began, but before I could finish, I felt Grayson's hand on my shoulder. Take it, he urged, his tone softening as he steadied me. It could be important. Or dangerous, I reminded him, fear creeping up my spine, but with a deep breath, steeling my resolve, I pressed the answer button. The voice on the other end was chillingly familiar. Lila, we need to talk, it said, the smooth rasp slicing through the air and sending chills down my spine. My pulse quickened, thoughts spiraling as I glanced at Grayson, his expression now a mixture of concern and caution. Whatever this was, it had the power to unravel everything. That I know where your mother is, the voice continued, each word dripping with a mixture of intent and something darker. And I'm the only one who can help you save her. I gasped, processing the weight of the revelation. As the implication settled over us like a storm cloud, the reality of my journey crashed hard upon me. We had just stepped into the storm, and with that singular phone call, the winds shifted ominously, bringing forth revelations that could either shore up my resolve or drown us all in chaos. The air in the car shifted, thick with the anticipation of answers and dread. My fingers tightened around the phone, the world around me fading into quiet as I processed the voice pulling me deeper into the shadows. I wanted to scream, to deny, to unravel the tangled threads of the night's events that had led me here. But all I could manage was a whisper, barely escaping my lips. Who are you? What do you want, Lila? You need to listen closely. Time is running out. The voice was steady, eerie even, as though the unknown speaker held all the power. Your mother is in grave danger, and I need you to trust me. Trust? A bitter laugh erupted from Grayson, breaking through my spiraling thoughts. "Do you even know what trust means in a situation like this, Grayson? Please," I implored softly, my eyes pleading. He shot me a fierce look, his worry evident but mingled with a protectiveness that steadied me. "Just listen, Lila," the voice continued, each syllable dripping with urgency. "Your mother's secrets go deeper than you realize. There are people looking for her, and they won't stop until they find what they're after. You've stumbled into something much larger than yourself." My heart hammered against my chest, memories of my mother's shadowy past flooding my mind. She had always been guarded about her life before me, whispers of a past filled with broken promises and hidden truths that had never quite made sense until now. "What do you know about her?" I demanded, a thin veneer of defiance coating my voice. "Why should I believe anything you say? Because I can give you answers. Because she deserves to be saved." An uneasy silence stretched, with only the hum of the car cutting through the tension. In that moment, I caught a glimpse of Simone's eyes in the mirror, swirling with concern. "Lila," she whispered, her voice a soft beacon against the chaos. "You don't have to do this alone. We're in this together." With that small tether of support, my fears ebbed momentarily. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" I pressed the voice, desperation lacing my words. "The answers you seek are in the package hidden under her bed. Go there when it's safe. The clock is ticking." As the voice faded into the void, a mix of emotions crashed together, pushing me toward the brink. Instinctively, I looked to Grayson, his guarded expression spoke volumes. What did I truly want? Answers? Safer ground? Or were they intertwined in a tapestry of fate that had been stitching itself into my life far before this night? I scanned the streets outside the window, fluorescent lights flashing past as the vehicle sprinted away from my burning questions and the darkening depths of uncertainty. "We need to find her," I blurted out suddenly, the urge to trust pulling me into a whirlpool of hope. Grayson's brows furrowed. "Do you know how dangerous that could be? We barely escaped with our lives tonight. We can't just. I have to try." I interrupted him, fire pooling in my chest. "I can't keep running. I want. Not when there's a chance to uncover the truth." Simone's hand reached out, squeezing mine reassuringly. "Well, figure it out, Lila. I promise." As we drove further into the heart of the city, the weight of my mother's truth pressed down onto my shoulders like an anchor, and I felt the storm brewing beneath the surface. Every instinct implored caution, yet every beat of my heart drove me toward action, propelled by the haunting memories of a mother long since silenced. All at once, unease settled within me. What if seeking my mother meant stepping into a web of danger that we couldn't escape? What awaited us on the other side of this revelation? A million possibilities raced through my mind, stitching a tapestry of doubt alongside hope. "Simone, where are we going?" I asked, my voice trembling with uncertainty. "To a place I know is safe." "Well, strategize and figure this out." She cast a quick glance around, eyes sharp and assessing. Her demeanor was calm, but I could sense a pulse of anxiety boiling just beneath her surface. When we finally slowed, the dim streetlights flickering on the sidewalk cast a tenuous glow over cracked pavement and abandoned storefronts. The air was still, a stark contrast to the storm swirling inside me. Breaking the silence, I turned to Grayson. "You're coming with us, right?" His reaction surprised me. He leaned back in his seat, arms folded defiantly. "I don't know, Lila. Maybe you should do this alone. You don't understand the risks." Pain surged through me. "You think I want to? I thought we were in this together." He hesitated, moments stretching like eternities, and finally, disappointment marred his face. Without answering, he opened the door and stepped out, frustration radiating off him like heat from a fire. "Grayson, wait." I reached, but he shook his head, walking away from the car and disappearing into the night. Simone's brows crinkled in concern as the silence enveloped the space where Grayson had just stood. "You didn't mean that," she said softly, trying to bridge the gap his departure had created, but I felt hollow as doubt crept in. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was chasing shadows, risking everything for answers that could tear apart the lives we'd built. The night wrapped around me, and in that pulse of darkness, it struck me that all paths would lead to the same uncertainty. "Let's go find your mother," Simone said, determination grounding her voice. But as we sat in the car, I couldn't shake the gnawing sensation, trusting the unknown could lead us down a path that might never bring us back. And before the door swung open, an icy gust whispered through the air, carrying with it the feeling of something lurking, waiting for its moment to strike. A faint sound echoing in my gut, a warning that we were not alone. The street before us glimmered under the feeble light of the neon signs, casting an ethereal glow on the pavement and making everything appear surreal. I thought of the voice on the phone, the gnawing urgency embedded in its words. With every breath I took, the tension coiled tighter in my chest. "Simone," I finally said, breaking the quiet that had swallowed us both. "What if we don't find her? What if we're too late?" My voice wavered, slipping into the unease that clawed at my mind. She turned in her seat, concern flickering across her features. "We're not going to think that way, Lila. We just need to stay focused. We'll find the answers, I promise you. Your mother is strong. And she needs you." Those last 3 words, "she needs you," cut through the thick fog of doubt. I felt a flicker of hope ignite within, but it was so easily snuffed out by the loathsome thought of failure that loomed like a shadow that we pulled into an alleyway that led to an old, unassuming warehouse. A place that once thrived with activity now lay dormant, yet there was a sense of safety in its concealed corners. Simone parked the car, her movements fiery with purpose, but I felt an anchor weighing me down. "What's our plan?" I asked, though the question tasted bitter on my tongue. Could there truly be a plan when every notion felt fraught with uncertainty? "We gather what we can from the package, any clues that might lead us to your mother," Simone suggested, the edge in her voice hinting at her own trepidation. "We go in and out quietly. We don't draw attention to ourselves," but the closer we got to the door of that warehouse, the more apprehensive I became. The stillness around us felt pregnant with danger, every creak of debris and the distant sound of footsteps echoing in my mind like a warning bell. The questions grew louder. Should we even be doing this? As I stepped inside, darkness enveloped me, cloaking the familiar and replacing it with the weight of the unknown. I could feel Simone at my side, her presence a steadying force amidst the uncertainty. "Lila, over here." She nudged me gently, pointing toward a faint beam of light that spilled through the cracks in the wall. "If the package is as important as they said, we need to find it, right?" My heart raced as dread clawed at me. We moved slowly, almost reverently, each creak underfoot amplifying my anxiety. I felt like we were trespassing not only into a physical space but a labyrinth of secrets. The room beyond the light revealed piles of forgotten items, covered with layers of dust that told tales of abandonment. Boxes sat stacked against the wall, some bursting with the remnants of a past long gone. And then I saw a small, nondescript box tucked under a rickety table, almost invisible amongst the refuse that I bent down, grasping it with trembling hands, and in that moment of small triumph, a whispered "be careful" edged its way into my thoughts. Would this hold the answers I so desperately sought, or would it drag me deeper into a tempest I was unprepared to face? Before I could even react, the door creaked open behind us, and my heart seized in my chest. A tall figure silhouetted against the harsh light startled Simone and me, panic rushing through my veins. "Who are you?" I demanded, clutching the box closer to me as if it were a shield. The figure stepped forward, the light revealing a familiar face that twisted my stomach in disbelief. "Lila?" The voice quivered with uncertainty, but the recognition was sharp, penetrating through my confusion like a lance. "What are you doing here, Dad?" My breath caught, heavily laden with a mix of hope and resentment. When had he even come back into the picture? After all this time, after all the scars of abandonment, he stood in front of me. "Why didn't you tell me you were here?" The words spilled out of me like a waterfall of unrestrained emotion, each syllable laced with the weight of lost time. "I've searched for you. Too didn't want to put you in danger," he stammered, his face etched with worry. "I thought it was safer this way. The fewer people involved, the better." "Safer?" My bitterness flared. "Look at what's happening. Mom's in trouble, and now you're here. He took a step closer, desperation glinting in his eyes. I need you to listen, Lila. You don't know what you're entangled in. There are forces at work here that you can't begin to understand. For the briefest moment, his protective aura softened the myriad of angles from which turmoil struck me. Yet there was something buried beneath his words, an undercurrent that felt ominous. That's why I am here. I need to find Mom and Lila. No. Simone interjected, fear lacing her voice. Before I could question her, the air crackled with tension, and a feeling of unease washed over me. We have to get out of here, she urged, darting her eyes back to the door. The flurry of emotions within me surged as my father's eyes darted behind him. We can't linger. They're closer than you think. What do you mean? I asked, surfacing my fear as the shadows deepened around us. And it was then, the tenuous threads of safety began to unravel. A whisper of chaos hummed just outside the door, the sound of voices approaching, menacing and authoritative. I felt the air grow thick, my choices narrowing, panic overwhelming. Lila, give me the box. I'll explain everything later, my father implored, the look in his eyes desperate and strained, but I hesitated, clutching it even tighter. What if the answers inside could save my mother? If I let it go, what would happen next? A final pulse of dread surged through the air, mingling with the dread of being found. My heart raced as the voices became clearer, shouting, demanding. A thrumming reality crashed over me like a wave. The truth was perilously close, yet so overwhelmingly out of reach. Before I could utter another word, the door burst open, and everything splintered into chaos as the figures stormed in, darkness swallowing the fragile strand of hope in an instant. The weight of uncertainty crashed around me, leaving only the tightening grasp of fear. My heart sank into the marrow of my bones as figures poured into the room. Shadows danced on the walls, elongating to grotesque forms that distorted the reality I'd clung to moments ago. I stumbled back, the box slipping from my fingers as I felt an overwhelming rush of fear coiling around me like a suffocating vine. No. I cried out instinctively, lunging for it, but before I could value its importance, a hand shot out, gripping my wrist and yanking me back. I was yanked into an unexpected embrace. My father's arms enveloped me, grounding me in a storm of chaos. Get back! He shouted, shoving me aside as he faced the intruders, an indefatigable resolve painted across his features. Stay behind me, Lila. From my vantage point, the figures surged forward, their intentions painted starkly on their faces, power, aggression, and something darker that churned in their eyes. I heard Simone gasp somewhere behind me, and I couldn't tell if it was out of fear for her own safety or mine. Lila, we need to move. Simone urged, searching for an exit as she pressed against the doorframe. The urgency in her voice snapped me out of my daze. Time bled away as sweat trickled down, the adrenaline sharpening my senses. Stay close. My father barked, positioning himself like a shield between us and the assailants. I understood then that whatever was inside that box didn't just hold answers, it held the potential for destruction. Let her go, you fools. One of the men commanded, his voice deep and foreboding. He stepped forward, a dark suit contrasting sharply with the harsh light, his demeanor both menacing and full of authority. No one is going anywhere, my father roared, and in that moment, the weight of his presence reminded me of the fierce protector he'd always yearned to be. Lila, we must get out now. As if the universe had conspired to test us, a sudden loud crash echoed outside, the unmistakable sound of shattering glass, followed by the reverberating clang of footsteps. My heart thundered in my chest, each beat urging me to act. Get the box. I blurted out, suddenly struck by an overwhelming need to protect its contents. I hadn't yet glimpsed what secrets it bore, but it felt too vital to simply abandon. No, it's too dangerous. Simone insisted firmly, stepping closer, urgency flaring in her eyes. We don't have time for this, it's our only chance. I shot back, my voice trembling yet resolute. I won't let it go. Just then, my father lunged forward, pushing me aside as he made a desperate attempt to intercept the men rushing toward the box. You won't lay a finger on Heron, any of them. He collided with the first assailant, their bodies jarring together, groans mingling with chaos. Against the backdrop of turmoil, my instincts took over. I darted toward the spot where the box lay on the ground, nearly tripping over the scattered remnants of forgotten past. With every inch I moved closer to it, I could feel the air thickening with fear and uncertainty, but an undercurrent of hope surged through me that I reached down, my fingers grasping the cool surface of the box just as another figure barreled past me. The room erupted into a tangle of flailing limbs and disorienting shouts. I found my footing even as chaos radiated, every sound melding into a frantic symphony. "Lila, come back!" Simone shouted, her voice breaking through. She wove around the scuffle, panic lacing her tone. But the box. I needed to know what was inside. The moment felt eternal, a cacophony stretching into silence as I wrested the box free. I glanced back to see my father struggling against two men, their faces painted with vehemence. Each second weighed heavy, forcing my heart to race with the cruel sensation of helplessness that I tore it open, breath stilled in anticipation. Inside lay an assortment of papers and photographs crumbled and old but packed with secrets begging to be uncovered. The first image I caught sent a shiver cascading down my spine. It was a photo of my mother, a wistful smile gracing her lips, standing next to a man I barely recognized but whose resemblance to my father was undeniable. "Dad. Who is he?" I gasped, scrambling to make sense of what lay in my hands. "Stop her!" One of the assailants shouted, and I felt the wave of urgency crash back over me. I folded the picture hastily, heart thudding loud enough for the men to hear. The truths hidden in the box pulsed with overwhelming life, and I couldn't shake the aching suspicion that what lay within held the key to everything, the circumstances of not only my mother's disappearance but my father's reappearance as well. "What did you just find?" my father demanded, breathless between grappling with his enemies. Before I could respond, an edge of clarity struck me, like a lightning bolt slicing through the storm cloud of confusion. "This is about more than just Mom, isn't it? You knew him. He's tied to all of this." Questions spun in my mind as the asking of that one brought with it the weight of 1,000 unspoken truths. Perhaps I was teetering on the brink of something much larger, a tumultuous unveiling of a past I desperately wanted to escape. "Lila!" Simone cried out again, an inferno of urgency in her tone, pulling me from contemplation. I faced her, the picture still gripped in my trembling hands. Her eyes widened as she registered what I held, a flash of understanding illuminating her features. "Time's up." One of the attackers thundered, charging forward with wild energy that I knew we had to move, but the box felt heavy in my hands, the secrets yearning to be unveiled even as danger approached. Would I surrender it? Or was I going to cling to whatever fragmented truth I could grasp, knowing it might plunge us into deeper conflict? "Run!" my father yelled, and as if prompted by his command, we plunged headlong into the chaos. With chaos nipping at our heels, I propelled us forward, my heart racing alongside the thunder of my footsteps, the world narrowing to the critical choice before me. Whatever lay ahead could redefine everything. Shadows were closing in behind us, and a haunting truth crested, threatening to consume us all. As we dashed through the labyrinth of hallways, the sounds of chaos faded into a distant rumble, but my heart clung tightly to the terrifying grip of what lurked behind. With each frantic step, the photograph remained a burning ember in my hand, igniting questions I couldn't ignore. "Lila, focus!" Simone urged, her grip tightening around my wrist, pulling me out of the spiraling abyss of my thoughts. "We need to find a safe place." Guided only by instinct, I led the way, weaving between shadows that danced like phantoms on the walls, terror mingling with desperation. Each direction felt wrought with uncertainty, yet we pressed on, hearts synchronized in their cadence of fear. My father's voice rang out behind us, an echo of resolute determination. "Keep going. Don't look back." A door appeared, a heavy metal exit marked with a faded sign. I flung it open, the cool air rushing in like a balm to my heated skin. We staggered outside, collapsing into the night beneath a vast sky smeared with darkness. Panting, we leaned against the wall, allowing the night to swallow our haggard breaths. A new awareness settled over me. The box, the photograph, everything was now irrevocably intertwined with our fate. What was that man's name? I whispered, more to myself than to them. "I don't know," my father gasped, glancing back at the door we'd emerged from, "but that man, he's not just a threat from the past. He has power, and we've lingered too long in his territory." "But the photo," I pressed, urgency tugging at my insides. "There's something more there, something we can use to figure this out, Lila. We can't afford to linger on the past right now," he said, his voice taut with anxiety. "We have to think of how to move forward. We have to protect ourselves first." I nodded, though my hands trembled around the picture. The faces oozed nostalgia, mingling sorrow with an insatiable curiosity. "There's a connection between you and him, I know it. You have to tell me what's going on, later," he replied, shushing me with the weight of his gaze. "First, we need to regroup." In that vulnerable moment, Simone reached for my shoulder, her warmth a flicker of hope against the coldness that enveloped us. "Hey, we're okay for now. We got out, and we'll figure this out together," but her words felt hollow against the tide of urgency that clutched at my heart. The photograph slipped from my fingers, and I hastily shoved it into my pocket. "We don't know how far behind us they are. We have to keep moving." We hurried into the nearby alley, where the oppressive weight of dim lighting sheltered us for the moment. Yet I felt my heart waver with unanswered questions. The memory of that man staring back at me, who did he represent, and why was he linked to everything I held dear? "Let's find somewhere safe to rest for a moment," I suggested, glancing around. My senses heightened. I caught sight of a flickering sign at the end of the street, an old diner. "They might have a phone we can use, Lila." "That's too risky," my father said, eyes darting around. "That if we don't alert the authorities, we'll never know what we're up against." Reluctantly, he nodded, and we plunged into the uncertain light emanating from the diner. The smell of stale coffee and home-cooked meals greeted us, yet the sight of a few scattered patrons sitting in their booths, eyes cast downward, sent a shiver through my spine. This small haven felt anything but safe. We approached the counter, and as I reached for the phone, I couldn't help but think back to the photograph nestled against my heart, the truth so tantalizingly near yet painfully out of reach. "Can I help you?" the waitress asked, her voice a melodic intrusion into my turmoil. Can I use your phone?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Sure thing, hun." She gestured to the antiquated device behind the counter, a lifeline in the tempest surrounding us. As I dialed, Simone leaned in closer, her eye demanding my attention. "Let's make this quick, Lila. We need a plan. And no matter what happens, no matter who that man is, we'll figure it out together," I murmured, trying to believe my own words. The ringing on. The other end clawed anxiously at my heart, and all I wanted was to hear something solid, some reassurance that we'd get through this. Just as I was about to hang up, a voice crackled through the line, a facade of calmness barely hiding the tumult within. "Hello? Is this an emergency?" Before I could respond, a shadow passed in front of the window, dark and foreboding. Instinctively, I turned, my breath catching in my throat. "No," I whispered, the phone slipping from my fingers, crashing onto the counter, words losing their battle against the sound of my own heart pounding. "Lila? What's wrong?" Simone jerked back, all of us frozen as the figure outside stepped closer. It was him, the man from the photograph. My breath stuttered in my chest, a surge of terror solidified in my core as I faced the reality. There was nowhere left to run, nowhere to hide. My father moved to shield us again, but I felt a gnawing certainty this man knew more than he had ever revealed, and tonight, the threads of our fates were tightening into an unbreakable knot threatening to pull us all under. In that moment, the truth I had grasped suddenly unraveled into chaos right before my eyes. The diner's window reflected the flickering lights like a distant storm about to erupt. My heart thudded painfully against my ribs, the familiar figure outside casting an ominous shadow over the fleeting hopes I had clung to. He stepped closer, confidence radiating from every inch of him, a dark harbinger of truths I had yet to uncover. My father's body shifted protectively in front of us, but I could feel the tension crackling in the air, a seismic shift threatening to explode. "Stay behind me," he murmured, and I yearned to protest, to scream that I had a right to know. But all I could do was watch as the door swung open, the bell tinkling innocently a mocking sound amid our fear. "Lila," the man said, his voice smooth but laced with shadows as he approached us. What a surprise! The moment felt suspended in time. My father's stance hardened, a silent battle of wills raging between them. "What do you want?" he growled, every inch the protective figure he had tried to be. I could see the tension in his jaw, the flicker of doubt in his eyes. "Only to help," the man spoke, feigning sincerity that dripped like honey. "After all, I've been searching for you." My body seized at the accusation, dread curling through my stomach like a serpent coiling around its prey. "Help? You think this is help?" I shot back, adrenaline surging as I stepped forward. "You've been a ghost in my life for years, and now you show up like it's all just a game. Enough." My father commanded, raising a hand as if it could stem the tide of confrontation. "She doesn't need to hear your lies," but the man hadn't taken his eyes off me. They radiated a mixture of all the broken pieces of my past and a strange sense of familiarity that oddly unsettled me. "Lila, hold on to the truth," he urged, his words dripping with a sly undercurrent. "There's so much you don't understand. Your mother didn't disappear. She was taken. But I can help you find her." "Taken?" The word echoed in my mind, reverberating through the chaos that had become my life. "By whom?" I barely recognized the quiver in my own voice. My father's anxiety grew, the shadows of betrayal lingering between us. "If you want something, just say it." I managed, clenching my fists in defiance that he stepped one pace closer, his expression unwavering. "This is bigger than you know, Lila. Your mother was never just a nurse, she was involved in something monumental. And so are you. They're searching for the key to what she left behind." "The box," I gasped, realization crashing down around me like thunder. "The packages, the photographs, it all pointed to a legacy written in family secrets, ripe for uncovering yet tangled in danger and mystery." "What do you know about it?" A flicker of interest passed over his features, but he maintained his cool demeanor. "I know that it contains information that could change everything. Yes, it can protect us, but it can also expose us to dangers we cannot fathom." He hesitated, as if weighing his next words. "If you don't give it to me, they will find you. Mark my words, the clock is ticking." Gripping the edge of the counter, I turned toward my father, whose eyes burned with a mixture of anguish and despair. "This is your chance, Lila. Don't let him manipulate you. We need to leave, but what if he's right?" I whispered desperately, fingers still clutching the photo stashed in my pocket, the corners digging into my skin, a reminder of everything left unspoken. "Love never meant putting each other in danger." His voice lowered, yet my heart twisted uncomfortably, echoing with unprocessed hurt and longing. "I abandoned you to keep you safe in the only way I knew how, that I wanted to find you." I responded, anguish lighting up my words. "I wanted answers, the answers you seek," the man interjected smoothly, his tone gliding dangerously, "are hidden in plain sight. Join me, and we'll untangle this web together. I offer you a chance to reclaim your legacy, to become something greater." I could sense the persuasive pull in his words, but alongside it, an undercurrent of danger writhed, tight and deceitful. Just then, the door swung open behind him, the clatter of footsteps interrupted, panic crashing down on all of us. "They're here!" Simone shouted, peering past the man and darting our way before pulling me back. "Quick!" my father urged, propelling us toward the back exit. Fear dripped from every exhale, yet I felt rooted in place, the choices before me unspooling like threads of a vast tapestry, the value of trust and the thrill of uncovering the truth battling against my instincts whispering that danger loomed at every corner. "Choose wisely, Lila. Loyalty comes at a price," the man warned, his voice a velvety promise wrapped in shadows. "You know where the path leads." But his glimmer of possibility felt oppressive, suffocating against the backdrop of urgency building behind me. With a last glance over my shoulder at my father, whose pained expression heralded 1,000 unsaid words, I lunged out the doorway as Simone beckoned. Although it felt like running into the abyss, I felt the urgency of the moment sweep me along, chasing away uncertainty, if only for a heartbeat. As we raced into the night, I heard the faint tremor of my heart, both terrified and exhilarated, caught between the gathering storm and the flickering hope of salvation. In that treacherous intersection, I understood, whatever the future held, I needed answers, and this journey would lead me to uncover the truth of my family, my mother's legacy and my own heart. Yet, as darkness enveloped us, those words reverberated through my mind. The truth: it could either break me or set me free, and I would face that tempest head-on. Standing at the very edge of a new dawn, I whispered a silent promise to the stillness around me. I won't stop searching. I have to find her. And with that promise, I stepped forward into the unknown, my spirit igniting with resolve, carrying with me the weight of a family's truth and the fierce beating of my heart, ready to rise from the ashes of a past that still lingered. In this chaotic dance between shadows and light, I embraced what lay ahead, knowing that it all truly began here, under the weight of our fragile dreams intertwining with destiny. In that moment of clarity beneath the starlit sky, a single thought solidified within the seams of my soul: by finding my mother, I would find myself.